Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is the 4th of May, and today we had an interesting situation where we gapped up, and that gapped up got sold into in the first half an hour very swiftly by about 150 points. Then we saw a clear trending up move, and more or less have remained sideways so far in the day. As I record this, the time is 12:30. I took an early exit from today's trade. The idea is it should have more or less been a pretty decent day to have the trade that I did, but I got played by volatility and I tried to break my trade, and in that process managed to lose 8 points. And after that, I found that I was starting to get a little frustrated with the trade itself. I also found that the risk reward for a strangle was not being priced in. The options are being priced very low for the kind of intraday volatility that we're seeing. So we're seeing not much of a move from open to close, but we're seeing quite drastic moves in the intraday situation itself, and that can start to get a little annoying if your horizon is just intraday and the options are not pricing in the kind of risk you can expose yourself to. So that being the case, overall for the day, I was down a little less than 1.5%, which is good. And I think something I want to address in today's intro is taking a loss is not a bad thing. I have a lot of people, when I take a loss, they'll tell me it's okay, make it up some other time, and XYZ, whatnot. As long as you take a small loss, it's not a problem at all. Don't take big losses. Now that's what is going to really hurt you. But as long as you take a small loss, losses are good. You shouldn't mind losses. Losses happen to everybody. And the fact that you were able to stop a loss before it became something too large to handle, or you tried to trade a setup that did not exist just because you want to try and trade on the same day and end on the in green on the same day, it can be very, very bad. You can start with something that's a very small loss, like something like a 1% to 1.5%. You might be like, okay, I can save this trade. You do all kinds of things. You might even average into it, do everything that you're not supposed to be doing. And then that 1% turns into a 3%, 4%, or even 5%. Especially because your setup was not there, you're not in a good state of mind to be trading to begin with. And overall, psychologically, you're just in a lose-lose situation. Your odds of winning then are just negative. So it varies. There are times when you should take a loss, and there are times when you shouldn't take a loss. Today, the reason for me taking a loss is I found that I was a little frustrated with something. So I tried to break my trade in the morning. I tried to exit my sold put side and trade from the call side, but I did it at the worst possible time. And I made a mistake in reading so-called momentum. I was expecting a little more momentum than what we saw. But that got me a little frustrated, and then I saw that, okay, I'm not in the best mental state of mind. Next, are the premiums good? No, IV is falling on both sides, and you're seeing that the premiums aren't really worth much. But you see a 50-point move in one direction, premiums are shooting up 30%, 40%. And that just puts you in a really bad state of a trade if you're being non-directional. So all this put together, I decided to take the loss, and I'm happy I took the loss. And to be very honest, a lot of people ask me, what happens to your mentality when you take a loss? How do you come back? As long as you've taken a loss that is small enough, it will really not affect your mentality. You need to train your mind to know that you are going to take losses, and that is part of it. Like, especially if you're doing intraday trading, you are going to take losses. Just take small losses, take them quickly and move on. And what's happened today is today. Tomorrow is a whole new day, and never get stuck in this loop of whatever you lose in one day to make up in the same day. That can be devastating. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have some takeaways from this video, and I will catch you tomorrow.
Want to meet like-minded traders and discuss option strategies, adjustments, and more? Just type in Discuss Nifty in your Telegram search box and join the friendly trader community.
Okay, having some issues with the validation pending situation. Orders are taking around sweet time. I wonder how long it'll take for them to get this fixed. I'll go with the idea once I'm done entering the trade. Okay, so the idea is we have made a slight gap up, not too bad. but at the same time, what that is doing is it's expanding some of the calls, which means we get pretty decent calls to short. I think rises towards 15,000 should be sold into, and dips more or less are getting bought at this point of time. And also there are a lot of shorts in the system currently, and what is happening is when we see dips, people are using some of those opportunities to get out of book their shorts, which is why we're getting bought on dips. So that being the case, from 14,700 I have tried to keep an even 250 points on either side, and just being a Tuesday, the DK is going to be better than Monday. Currently this triangle is trading at something like 31, 32, and the idea is this should give at least 10 to 15 points of DK intraday today, provided we don't have too much of a move. So we'll keep you posted. Time is 9:21. Okay, so we're seeing a down move. We're now testing yesterday's close. 14,650 is being tested on the downside, and these puts are expanding. I've moved down the calls already to 14,900, and I will wait and see what happens at 14,650, either 30 points from here or holding below 14,650 for about 3 candles, to then further move the 14,900 calls down to 14,850. So that's the idea. We'll keep you posted. Okay, so something went wrong here. I tried to break the trade, but not so successfully. So as we were sliding down, broke yesterday's close. There seemed to be momentum, so I bought back my sold put at a pretty bad price. And the idea was to trail slightly with the call and then re-enter with a lower put. I was expecting potentially a test all the way till here, so around 14,500. But that did not happen, and I exited the puts at the worst time, and the call started to expand. And by the time I could re-enter from the put side, it was already quite bad. So I'm down something like 8.5 points, and yeah, that's not the best start. But at the same time, it does mean I'm down. So I'll be trailing a stop loss of about 5 points from here, because essentially 5 points will mean slightly less than 2% on my capital use. So that being the case, I'm now sitting on the 14,450 and 14,850 triangle. And yeah, it's unfortunate that the breaking of the trade did not work out as intended, and it's completely my fault for doing that. But regardless, we'll be trailing a stop loss, and right now it does seem that, okay, so what we're seeing is prices towards 14,700 got sold into, dips below 14,600 got bought. So that's a good enough indication of what kind of day we might have. Even from the open interest front, we are not seeing any heavy directional bias. So you have lower level call unwinding at 14,500 and puts being written all the way up till 14,800. So it definitely creates a bullish bias, but at the same time, this has to be kept in mind that we had a bearish bias yesterday. Yesterday there were a lot of bearish positions built up. So if you look from the overall, it looks very neutral. So you have 14,650 position built up, equal number of people on either side. So that being the case, we're working now with a high chance of it being a sideways day. But that being the case, I still can't afford to take more than a 5-point loss from here. So that's the stop loss. We'll keep you posted. Okay, time is 12:30. Pretty much done with half the day. Finally, I was down on the intraday something like 11 points, and what I'm finding is that the options pricing itself is not very attractive to stay in the trade. Right now we are seeing options being underpriced on both sides, and fair enough, because there's actually not a lot of movement happening on the index, but at the same time there is a lot of intraday volatility, and we're seeing a lot of that gamma effect come into play, where we have rapid expansion and deflation of options at different times. Honestly, it's not that bad also, but I find that I'm not in the ideal state of mind to be trading, and at the same time, when the risk reward is not so good and you're not in the ideal state, best to take a back seat. So yeah, something like a under 1.5% Yeah, 1.5% down for the day. And that's a good enough time to take an exit. I'm just finding that invariably what is happening is, so we gapped up and we made a 150 point down move. From there, steady up move, and we broke trend and once again started heading down. Honestly, today's been one of the easiest days, what one would think should be super easy. But because of the mistakes that I made, I got a little annoyed with it. And once you are not in the optimal state of mind to be trading, it's best not to trade. So that being the idea, I've just exited the trade at a 1.5% stop loss, which is good enough. I mean, there's always the next day. You don't have to trade everything in the same day, and it's not that okay, you're down, you have to make it back or whatever. If the setup is not so good, if the trade is not very attractive, if you are not in the best state of mind to be taking that trade, then best to call it a day. Our positional trades so far, all right, nothing much happening. Everything is more or less holding the view for now. So no changes done to positional trades today. But yeah, we're sticking to overall a very tight range here, and I don't want to particularly take any more trades today. More to do with my state of mind than what's happening on the index. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good trading day, and I'll catch you tomorrow.
Thank you for watching. Please post any questions you have in the comment section. Also, do not forget to like and share the video and subscribe to the channel. To find us on Twitter, Telegram and Facebook, use the username NiftyBN. Also, we post some of our trades to the community tab. So do not forget to check that from time to time.